welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build video, and today I am creating another mid-century house. So if you're wondering, wait, you're saying another mid-century house? You've created one before? One of my first ever prompts that I reacted to / I did was a mid-century house. This was in the heat and the height of the period of when everyone was running around making multi-households. So I decided that this was the perfect time for me to start answering some prompts and some requests. And since I'm now in a habit of actually doing the ones that I asked for, I was like, okay, let's get down to it and let's start making some prompts and requests, and let's actually start like redoing some, because a lot of the prompts and requests I do like, but one thing that I've always felt a little bit iffy about was that mid-century house, just because it was the first ever one I ever did. And another issue that I felt with it is that I did, like I talked about in my previous video actually, because this is again another Brindleton Bay video, because I've just started to really love Brindleton Bay. I never realized how fun the lot placements were, because the thing is with me, the reason why I'm not someone who's not necessarily fussed about getting more world is purely because I like having more places to place pretty buildings. Because if we had the world edit function that we had in The Sims 3, then I wouldn't even ask for another world, because there are so many places within the different worlds where I would love to place a lot. So, like I've said this before, but in Del Sol Valley, if we had like at least some lots close to the coast, like very close to the coast, that would have been great, because Del Sol Valley is supposed to be imitating California, and California has a lot of coast. Like it is literally never eat soured wheat. Is that it? Never eat spicy worms. Yeah, it's the West Coast anyways. It's the West Coast. So it's literally West Coast vibes, Golden Coast vibes, all of that kind of vibes. So it would have been so great if we were able to actually edit quite close to the ocean, because I think I said this in one of my Tomarang builds, or like another build discussed in Tomarang. Me with ocean friends, I'm a bit funny about them. I would love more worlds where we have like lakes. Like for example, we have in Oasis Springs, we have some really good water-based things that aren't necessarily the ocean. I think we've got some like salt lakes, or like just like small pond areas, or areas just where there's like a lot of water that's not necessarily ocean, and I love stuff like that. Or we have lakes and stuff. Like actually, you guys are gonna love this, but I have recently built this valley type of house. So it's like in the mountains, and then there's like a river that flows it, and then there's the house at the edge. I love it so much, but I will redo it. I will post it. I'm gonna post the speed build, so don't worry about that. But I would love to redo it on a bigger lot, because I overestimated how big of a build it is. Because when I made it on a 40 by 30. I actually made it on, is it 14 Natal Lane in Henford or Bagley, the same lot that I did the medieval village. I built it on that one. I didn't even realize I made the medieval village on a 40 by 30. I thought I made it on a 30 by 20. That was crazy. But I was like, in my head, I was like, I can't believe I made it on a 40 by 30, but then when I made it, I thought a 40 by 30 would be enough to create what I wanted to do, because I wanted to create quite an expanse amount of space within the actual build as well as the build itself. And when I did eventually build it, I started to realize that this is just going to be a house in the middle of the mountains, but there's not as many mountainous areas I would want. Like I would have liked it to be so mountainous that you could imagine your Sims probably taking a hike, and I think it would be so beautiful when it snows. I think I might even just look at it when it snows, and it just feel like very like quite Switzerland almost. Like I wanted to feel more like Switzerland, but right now the way it looks like we're more close to Appalachia than we are to Switzerland, because it's a lot more tree. It feels like if we were able to have is it Granite Falls? If we were able to have Granite Falls as a primary world, this is a type of build that would fit into it. And you can actually just put it in Granite World if you have it. I don't have it because I don't have, is it Jingle Adventures or Outdoor Retreat? It's one of them. I don't have both of them. And you can always put the build there because it is just so mountainous and so tree vibey. And now I'm looking at this build, I'm realizing I've also kind of done the same thing with this build where it's just like a lot of trees everywhere, but that's I love it so much. I love the feeling and the vibe of there being just so many trees around. And there is something about doing an ultra modernistic-ish looking house, and then there's just been trees everywhere. It feels like you're like in a superhero layer. Like this is like where Iron Man would like have a house at, not his primary house, but like where one of his houses will be at. Or if it was dark, this is where Batman would live. Like this is like given. I was going to say, I'm a billionaire superhero kind of vibe. I was going to say something like I'm a billionaire orphan superhero, because that is a common trend as well. But yeah, that's the kind of vibes I get from it. But this is more Iron Man than Batman, just because of the lighter colors. But yeah, the fact that it's just surrounded by trees is something that I really, really enjoyed. And I was not expecting to like that aspect. Well, I was, because I've said, have I? I don't think I have. There's multiple places I would like to live when I'm older. One of them being a London townhouse, another one being a New York apartment, another one being somewhere in Australia, another one being somewhere in South Africa, and the other one being somewhere very woodsy, like. But at the moment, I haven't actually discussed it, because I've been like ruminating on this, and I'm going to speak this into existence. I'm manifesting it. But I would really, really love to live in Scotland. And one thing that I'm so grateful for is that since I live in the UK, for me to go to Scotland wouldn't be the most like exertive thing for my possibilities to do. And it wouldn't be something where I'm going to be widely far away from my family and my friends, compared to if like I was to live in New York, or if I was to live in Australia, especially Australia, because Australia is so far from everything here. But if I was to go to Scotland, it's about 5 hours, 6 hours to go on train, and maybe like 8 hours on coach. But it's nothing that you can't necessarily, like, if I needed to, I could just see my family and my friends, and that's a good thing. That's what I like about it. The only issue is that if I do live in Scotland, when I do need to visit my family and friends, or for example, my job, there's a lot of media opportunities in Scotland, but there is also a lot of media opportunities in London. If I needed to go to London, it would be the most, I don't even mind long journeys. I actually don't even mind long journeys. Long journeys are fine. As long as you give me something to entertain myself with, like a book or a film or a show, I will do a long journey. To just sit there and be driven somewhere, I love that. That's literally the best thing you can ever suggest to me. I will be so concentrated, so zen and so calm and everything. I'll love it. And with some snacks on the side, brilliant. I love it. But the only issue is when it comes to a coach, though, there's only one toilet, and it's not you don't feel as confident in that toilet, and you don't get to stop at like service stations. Service stations, I would say, if you don't know what a service station is, if you're not in a country that calls them service stations is when you're traveling primarily on motorways, because I know in America you've got a lot of highways where we have our motorways, and I'll say the difference between highways and motorways is that highways are quite, one, they're very long compared to motorways. They're quite like far out. Like I've seen some really crazy routes where it's like you are surrounded by nothing for miles on end, and I'm like, I don't know how you guys survive that, because I'll be terrified. But also the thing is with highways that I have noticed about America is that they're quite not, I wouldn't say abandoned, because they're not abandoned. People use them quite regularly, but they're quite, since it's such a big country, they're not as like, they don't seem as busy, not on the actual highway itself, but maybe even the highway itself, but like even like the things surrounding it. But in the UK with the motorway, even though it's just similar to a highway, long stretch of road to get you from point A to point B, like if you were going somewhere crazy, like from London to Scotland, like you'll have like the M25 and then the M something, I don't know, but you will just have different like motorways to get you to your point. But the thing is, these motorways are quite busy and they have quite a lot going on surrounding them. So even though it is a long stretch of road, there are so many like street lights everywhere. Actually the street lights when you're coming close to a city. When you're not close to a city, there's no street lights. It's quite dark. But if it's light outside and there's no street lights, you can see from your left and your right, you can see houses, you can see farms, you can see homesteads, you can just see that the areas that surround the motorway are well kept and well vibrant and are quite usually used. they're not somewhere that you are like, oh, if I was to just like get off this motorway and walk into like, I don't know, this valley area that no one will ever see me. Like someone will see you probably within the 24 hours because it looks like somewhere that's kept like upkeep. Like the upkeep is quite regular compared to like highways where you look left to right and sometimes you can just see trees and you're like, if I break down now and I go into those trees, I could be missing for like 2 weeks. Or if I break down now and I go into this wild desert, that I could be gone for like ages, or it'll take ages for someone to notice me or something. Compared to like a motorway, you leave that motorway, someone is probably going to find you because that's probably someone's farm, or someone probably takes hikes on that valley, or you what literally next to like a town, or you're into someone's garden. Because a lot of things I've also noticed that is quite different between highways and motorways is that motorways in the UK, sometimes you're literally in someone's garden. Like the motorway will stretch at the back of someone's garden, so someone in their house could look through the back windows and see the motorway. And that's what I mean when I say they're quite busy compared to highways. So yeah, that's a really long rant about the differences between motorways and highways. But reason why I'm talking about motorways is that with motorways we have service stations. So service stations, I would say, if I was to draw a comparison, again, I'm using America as the opposite because that's the country besides like Zimbabwe and Australia that I know quite a bit about. And with America, you have like sometimes, I don't know if it's just TV shows. Tell me if I'm wrong, because my perspective of America is purely based off of like TV shows, books, and what people tell me on social media. But what I've not learned is that instead of having service stations, you guys have like diners, and you have like maybe motels, and you've got like diners, motels, that kind of stuff. In 7-Elevens, like a lot of 7-Elevens, like stuff like that. And gas stations and stuff like that. What we have is that we have service stations, and they basically have all of that combined. So the service stations will normally have, instead of having independent franchises like diners, like whatever diners would call themselves, our service stations will have franchises. So they won't be independent stores. There will be like your Pizza Expresses, your Nando's, they will be there, and your Greg's, they will be all there. And they will also have the quite upkept, they almost seem like mini food halls from shopping centers / shopping malls. Like if you think of a shopping mall / shopping center, think of the food hall section. And that's basically what a service station is. It's like, it's got a big variety of food. And depending on where, like I can think of right now, I think, I'm not forgetting what the place is called. There's a service station quite close to London. What's it called again? It starts with a B. It's where it starts with a B, and that's as much as I can think of. But that service station, I remember, it's got like sushi, it's got Nando's, it's got like Cafe Nero, it's got like so many stuff. Then it's got toilets, and it's also got places where you can buy stuff for your phones and stuff like that. And then it's also got, these service stations also have like petrol pumps / gas pumps or diesel pumps or whatever you want to call them, but where you can top up the fuel or top up the electricity of your car. And then these service stations are quite well organized, so they're normally hidden in the trees. So when there's a lot of trees in motorways, and when you are driving on a motorway, it will tell you that, you are approaching this type of service station and this many miles, this many yards, and then you're approaching the service station in this many yards, you're approaching it in this many yards, this many yards, this many yards, until you actually get to the service station. And then you have to like, normally like there's a mini roundabout or like some kind of like thing you have to get, because you have to go onto the slip road and go out. And a slip road is basically the road that allows you to join onto the motorway that ends up becoming a hard shoulder. If it's not a smart motorway, if it's a smart motorway, it will just become a lane by itself. But you'll go onto the slip road and you'll go out from the motorway, and then you'll go into the service station, and then the service station is just gas pumps full to the brim, food halls, everything. You've got places for your lorries, and a lorry is a truck. And then places for your cars are quite big, quite expansive. And Yeah, and the reason why I was even talking about sewing stations in the first place is to say that if I was to live in Scotland, the only issue is that I don't mind long journeys, but your coaches, if you were to take a coach, don't stop at service stations. So if I do get hungry, I have to bear with that hunger until I stop at my destination. You can't just pop in and out of the coach. The coach will leave you. So, for example, there's normally different stops. There will be different stops from Scotland to London. They wouldn't just go straight. They would probably stop at different places like Sheffield or something like that. You will go off at the coach. You cannot leave the coach if they stop at like Sheffield or something. The people have to get the bags into the bottom, you get into the coach and you go. So if you have not packed enough food or you've left your food wherever, you can't leave it. You can't get it. Because another problem is that if you've left your food in like your suitcase or something, and you've left your suitcase in the bottom part of the coach, which is normally where they keep all the suitcases and stuff like that, you won't be able to get it because they shove it back according to where you're going. So if you say for example, you get on in London and you have to go to Scotland, you have to say, oh, I'm getting off at Scotland. They'll put your bag in a special section because they know that the people may be coming on the people getting off at Sheffield will need to retrieve the bags first. So they'll put yours at the back and the Sheffield bags at the front. So if you go down and say, hey, I need to get something that's like not life emergency, like it's not like medicine or inhalers, anything like that. It's like, oh, I just want to get I just want to get my crisps from downstairs from the coach thingy. The driver will look at you and be like, no, go back in your seat, because that's a huge inconvenience because a lot of people's bags will be in the way of your bag because you're not supposed to be getting your bag until the final stop. So that's my only issue with coaches, is that you have to pre-plan everything, including your bladder. So you need to make sure that, because there's only one toilet on these coach and there could be like up to 50 people on the coach. So if that toilet gets blocked up, and sometimes it does, you have to hold it. Also, if you're just not comfortable with using the bathroom with so many people in close proximity to you, again, you'll just have to hold it. It's what normally occurs when you're in a coach. But besides that, I love my long journeys and I look forward to living in Scotland in my nice little town home there. I would love to live in a manor in Scotland, but honestly, with me, when it comes to space, I like manors for the sake of, I love the design of a manor, and I also love the landscaping of a manor. So I would love to have a really good garden, a really pretty garden and stuff like that. And I would love to have the old architecture that occurs in interiors of manors. But honestly, give me a townhome with the same vibe and just let me have even a little bit of a garden, because what I've always wanted is that I want my future house to have a pond. Like I want it to have a naturally created, not a natural occurring pond, but like I want to create a pond in my garden. So if I can even just like simulate a little like pond within my townhouse garden, I'm so good. Like I'm so good. I don't need a lot of space like that. I just need enough space to host my friends or family, because one thing about me is that I would love to live by myself. I don't want to live with like other people for too long. I love to live by myself, but I love to host people. So just come along if you want. Anyway, I went on a huge tangent about all these things and completely forgetting about this build, but I really didn't know what to tell you guys about this build, because I feel like as much as I like it and I do prefer it to the other, but except for I do understand that this build is not as creative as the other mid-century house, but this build is a lot more practical, and I feel like the simplicity of it makes it a better build. Because it's so simple, I just didn't know what else to say. Was like talking about it. But one thing that I have done that I'm also excited for, as well as the Valley House and the English school that'll be coming out on Friday, is that I was messing a lot with my GShades, because I've had a lot of questions about people asking, do I use a preset? Is it available? What's my GShade like? And I don't use a preset. I've made my own. It's just I always forget what combinations I've done, so I never know what's in my GShade, but I've been messing with it a lot because I wanted to see what my computer can handle, because there are different types of like video content I would like to do, and it will only occur if I change up my GShade. And I found something that's really cool. So on Friday's video, it's going to look so slick. It's going to look so cinematic and everything. And I'm so excited. So I hope to see you guys there. Be there, because I know YouTube is not recommending my videos. I know it. You guys have told me they're not recommending my videos. So push notifications if you must, but be there on Friday. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but if you don't want to, that's also okay. I appreciate you staying this long and listening to all of my ramblings. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. I appreciate all of your comments, the more the merrier. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.